Welcome to the RC Aerobatics podcast. This episode, we speak with AC Glenn. We talk about his history, how he got into RC and precision flying. We talk about his practice routines and flying both in FAI pattern and F3P indoor. We also talk about his new venture with Andrew Jesky. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to the show, AC. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Rich.
You bet. You bet. Why don't you give me a little rundown of your history and how you got started in RC?
Yeah, so I got started in RC because of my dad. Originally from Memphis, Tennessee. My dad's been flying RC since he was 4 or 5 years old, it seems like, and so he got me started in it pretty young. So he flew pattern, so the obvious choice was for me to learn how to fly pattern with him as well. So him and my uncle Mike actually taught me how to fly. I actually grew up flying Mode 2 for the first probably 5 or 6 years, and then I transitioned to Mode 1 because that's what my dad flies. So I've been flying pattern ever since then. Been lucky to worked for a Spree model at one point in time. Worked for Horizon Hobby, doing product support and then some product development, and been able to make a job out of it where I fly UAVs for a full time job now. Still compete heavily in F3A. Yeah, flown some IMAC, been to the World Championships for indoor for foamies for F3P. Yeah, had a good time.
Oh, terrific. Well, how young were you when you started flying pattern?
Ooh, my first contest was when I was 10 years old. I flew a Chaos 60.
Wow.
So, and it kind of
A lot of
flew
changes
that
since then,
Chaos for
huh?
the first. Yeah, a lot has changed since then.
Oh, terrific. So when you started, did you immediately do well and move up in the ranks, or did it take a while to learn what was going on?
Um, Probably that first year or two, I was out of, 4 or 5 guys, I was fourth or fifth every time. Just learning kind of the ropes of everything. And I
Hmm.
think about 2 years in, I got an actual pattern plane, which was my dad's Aerial, that or Guy Hansen model. And that was when things started progressing a lot more. I started taking it a little bit more seriously, even though as I was a kid. We started practicing a lot more, and I started having a lot more fun with it at that point, where it wasn't just like, hey, we go to contests, but I still, I like just flying remote control airplanes other places. um, I started having more fun with it, and then I started getting good. At that point, I started taking it a little more seriously, and then I will tell you, and probably my dad's gonna probably hate to hear this, but my true tipping point for me getting good in my eyes was when I moved to Illinois and worked for Horizon Hobby, because I was on my own and I had to take everything that my dad had taught me and apply it without him being there. And that was when that's when
Yeah,
the real results for me started really happening.
I got you. At that time, was there somebody you were flying with to help you out, or were you just doing it all on your own?
So it was weird. At that point in time, there was a lot of us youngsters working at Horizon. So like Seth Arnold was there, James Haley, Ryan Smith, who was Kike's caller. Kike was there himself, Mike McConville. So there was guys around, but for the majority of the time, we were just going out as kids, just having fun after work and flying. And I just had to stay focused and remembered all those
Hmm.
things that he taught me. So I was able to apply them with him not there. And then with some help from Kike and from Ryan and from McConville as well on the IMAC side, I just started getting good.
Hmm.
And I started understanding the philosophy behind pattern and how to practice, how to execute at contests and stuff like that. So it all came together between 2011 and 2013 is when it started getting really good.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. And at 2011, so that's 11 years ago. How young were you then? Because you're still a young guy.
Uh, so I was 21 then.
20. Oh, okay. Very good. And at that time, were you flying? Uh, you trying any other disciplines, or you were still just flying the pattern?
So it was mainly pattern. During that time, I did fly some IMAC stuff, just because during that time was when Hangar 9 came out with that 35% extra 300. And so it was kind of a big push, company wide to promote it. So I flew, I want to say two IMAC contests in advanced, and I won both of them. Actually, Mike McComba let me borrow his personal airplane to fly for those two contests. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so it was mainly IMAC. I still did a lot of foamies. Foamies
yeah.
were a big deal for us in Illinois because 6 months out the year you couldn't go outside and fly. So I did a lot of ETOCs back
Right.
then, EFES, the F3P contest at EFES, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. How early did you start going to the Nats and competing in the national level?
So my first Nats was 2003, and I got second in intermediate. That was my first Nats, and then we didn't go in 2004, and then in 2005 I went and flew advanced, and that's when I won. So and then there
Okay.
was
Terrific. Terrific. And when did?
yeah,
Go ahead.
after 2005 when I won, I moved up to masters, and that was kind of a learning experience for me. Um, that's when I think that at least for me, I started taking things. I wasn't taking them as seriously because you get on a high. I just won the Nats. I'm going to go to Masters, and this is going to be easy. And then you forget all the little things that you need to do. And I think I got fourth in Masters that year. And after that, I moved up to F3A to FAI, and I had a rough go for a few years, leading up to 2011, which was when I first made my first finals in FAI. So
Oh, terrific. Yeah, I imagine jumping to FAA is a big FAI is a big jump. So there's there's a lot of different things along with the unknowns that you got to start dealing with. You
yeah,
think flying the
yeah.
IMAC helped you prepare for unknowns?
Um, I think by the time that I flew IMAC and needed to fly unknowns, I think I had already done it in pattern, so I had grasped the concept maybe a little bit better. Um, but honestly, up until the last two Nats, unknowns has always been my real downfall. And make the finals and fly a good F, and then two unknowns are always kind of iffy. The unknowns have kept me out of two or three teams now at this
Hmm.
point. So, but I think that now I've gotten
Let
good.
yeah. Let
Go
me
ahead.
ask you this about unknowns. Do you think that's preparing for unknowns is more about flying as many maneuvers as you can and trying to prepare for whatever can come along, or is it just flying unknowns and not knowing what's coming up?
So I think what has helped me with unknowns, um, so what we've done the past couple of years between Andrew, Jason, and myself is we'll wear headphones and send the other person an unknown right before we're about to take off, and just have them call it. We won't look, we'll look at it one time and go, okay, this all makes sense. Send it to them, and then have them call it for you while you're actually flying. That to me, I've grown a lot by doing that because I don't have the time. It's a true unknown at that point. I looked at it for 2 minutes before I took off. Um,
Right.
that to me is the true essence of an unknown, more or less. You don't have time to really plan it out. You just kind of got to go with it. And the more you do that, the more you learn the maneuvers and the placement of things, and then you go, okay, well, this is easy now. Those first six maneuvers are that's cake because you've done them so many times flying other unknowns.
Right, right. And how long have y'all been kind of practicing like this together? I guess it's kind of like practicing at a distance, but still practicing together like that.
Probably the last 3 or 4 years, I would say we've done that
Hmm.
pretty regularly. Um, yeah, yeah, I would say the last 3 or 4 years has been, and even throughout the year we do it. It's not just right when the Nats is about to happen. We're May and April flying unknowns.
Hmm. Well, very good, very good. Now, yeah, I assume since it's kind of your mainstay, is pattern your favorite form of aerobatics at this point, or do
Yes,
you
yeah,
like doing the
yeah.
others, or yeah?
So I enjoy
Because
indoor a
I know
lot.
I've uh-huh.
The indoor scene just is has indoor was so much fun back in the day when we were all doing it together, like when all the top guys in the country were flying indoor. It was so much fun back then, but the airplanes have changed so much over the last couple of years. I wouldn't say it took the fun out of it, but it makes it more like flying pattern. There's no, you can't build an airplane in 2 hours anymore. It's a week or more
Hmm.
process to try to build an airplane and get ready for a contest. Um, but I enjoy aerobatics in general. Not so much 3D, but aerobatics in general. Precision
I
aerobatics, what
gotcha.
that is.
I gotcha. Hmm. Well, in the indoor airplanes when you're flying them, are they durable? Can you fly them for a season, or do you have to keep? I mean, they look awful light and uh, flimsy, for lack of a better
Yeah,
term.
so they typically will last a season or more, because you got to remember we
Hmm.
don't, you know, they only get flown indoors. There's no wind. There's no these things never see the light of day. Um,
Yeah.
our indoor airplanes stay in boxes. You carry them from the car inside in a box. You put it together, put it back in the box when you're done. Take it back to the car. They last a good. I mean, they're built to last.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. And what is the average weight of an indoor plane? Do you know?
Between 35 and 50 grams.
Wow, that's
So if
amazing.
you go pick up one of your
That's
Falcon
amazing.
propellers for pattern, that's about what it weighs.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite a comparison. So you, if I remember correctly, a couple of years back, you went to Worlds in indoor, correct?
I went to Worlds in indoor in 2019, and I went to the Worlds for outdoor in 2017.
Oh, okay. Terrific.
Yeah.
Terrific. And tell me about where did you go for 2017? Where was that located in?
That was in Argentina, just south of Buenos Aires.
Argentina.
Yeah.
Hmm. And what kind of an experience was that?
It was a little emotional for me, if I can be honest, because you fly pattern all these years with the goal to get to go to the world championship. And I think the difficult part for me was I'm big on I have a hard time with self-doubt sometimes right before a contest. Um, and you get there and you're like, okay, flew my first round, I'm in 10th. Okay, I can do this. Now let
Yeah.
I'm here now. I got nothing to lose. I was the alternate who stepped in for Brett when Brett and Brian weren't able to come. I had nothing to lose. So for me, it was a very surreal moment and very emotional because I got to do it with my dad and my best friends. Andrew and Jason and Chuck Holcoulter was there as my caller. So I mean, it was an amazing experience. It was by far the worst conditions I've ever flown in my life, but it was an experience nonetheless.
No doubt. I heard it was a little bit windy over there. What
Yeah.
was it like meeting all the guys that we see post, from Europe and the other countries? I know it's always kind of really special, and whenever I get a chance to meet somebody who's come a real long way, or somebody we know that's kind of far away, um, and see them fly. What is that experience like with the people?
Um, it's fun. It's it's definitely, you go look at all these contest results and you see all these guys that, you never get to see fly. And then to finally get to see them in their element is it's truly special. Like Onda and Kristoff, you finally get to see these guys fly at their top level. And it was awesome. It was very enjoyable hanging out with all those guys and getting to meet everybody. And I'd met quite a few of them in 2011 when the Worlds were in Muncie.
Hmm.
But in 2017 to get to meet him again, now I'm, you know, not saying on the same playing field, but we're all competing together versus just me being a fan at that point. It was truly awesome to get to watch what some of these guys do, like how they mentally prepare before a flight. What are they listening to music? Those things like that. Just it's kind of cool to see how everybody, interacts and does their own thing.
Right, right. Yeah, I that's one thing about RC and RC aerobatics in general that I really, really enjoy is, just about every country somebody names a country, I can say, oh, I know or have talked to a pilot in this country, or I know I've talked to a pilot in that country,
Mhm.
and that's pretty cool, no doubt. So when you're preparing, for uh, for a big flight, or say for a big contest, so it could start even earlier than that. How soon do you start seriously practicing, and what is your routine? And then getting up to the flight, what kind of routines do you have to prepare yourself mentally?
So typically, like say the Nats is in August this year. Typically right about now
Hmm.
is when it's time to, we need to have airplanes solidified and we need to start easing into the practicing every day and doing, as many fights as you can get in weekly while trying to balance work and a life and all that stuff. About now, right around April time is when it gets pretty serious. Um, and for me, I try to fly as much as I can, and I also try to fly as much as I can when I'm uncomfortable as well. There's nothing worse than you get to a big contest and you're not comfortable, and you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think, versus whether it's bad wind
Hmm.
conditions or maybe you just have something going on at home that's distracting your mind for a second. You kind of got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So I will go out a lot of times and I'll just show up at the field and I'll treat it like it's round one at the Nats. I'm first up. So I'll sit down, put my headphones on, listen to some music for 5 minutes, and then I'll just take off and there's no mess ups. You can't go back and redo a maneuver because you messed it up. It's not practice to me at that point. I
Right.
get up and do it like it's round one. Like I don't have a choice but to flop a stall turn, then it's just a zero. I can't go back and redo it. I gotta
Yeah.
fly it just like I would at the Nats. Um, so that part it gets um really hot and heavy in June and July. I mean, it's every day, 4 or 5 flights a day, trying to fly unknowns, making sure regularly checking the airplanes and making sure they're at their peak potential. Um and then I think Jason actually told me this. I usually try to take a couple of days off from flying before the Nats, because it's really difficult once you get into a fast-paced rhythm, it's really hard to dial that back, and be comfortable and have fun. And I think that's why we all do this is we want to have fun too. So we want to not put so much pressure on ourselves, even though we subconsciously always do. But you take the last few days beforehand, go out and fly the airplanes. They're all good. Hang them up, put them in the car, do whatever you need to do, and take those last couple of days off. And it's hard at times because you're like, okay, I don't know what to do with myself. I want to go practice, but it allows you to mentally be present.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's always amazing to me to see you guys fly and fly solid. I mean, Nats is 4 straight days of pretty grueling flying and calling and judging, and um, I always see you with your earphones on and focused, and the flights are always right on point. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I know you fly um, drones and such for a living. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in that and what you do?
Um, so right now I'm an internal pilot. So external pilot being I actually take off and land the airplane with the remote control, just like you would a pattern plane or an IMAC airplane, except it's plugged directly into a ground station that's talking to the autopilot. So I take off and land all of our ISR airplanes right now. And then do I'll sit inside, run the camera or internal pilot, which is actually flying it by the autopilot, changing waypoints, changing airspeed and altitude and stuff like that. I really lucked into flying UAVs. um, my first UAV job was 2013, or actually it was before that. It was 2009 was my first UAV job, and I was in college at the time. And just got presented with an opportunity that I couldn't turn down, and went to Israel and learned how to fly an airplane called Hermes. And then I came back and did some other stuff, went to work for Esprit Models, went to work for Horizon. And then I got an opportunity to fly an airplane called Tiger Shark and moved out to Vegas and flew Tiger Shark for a little while there. And after that, I ran an aerial photography business for a while. And then I needed a change. I moved to Texas and sold private jet charters for a while. I was really into that and having a good time doing that. And kind of just needed a change. And got an opportunity to go work for Textron Systems, flying Aerosonde, and then left from there and have worked for another company, based out of Huntsville. And now here I am. So
Oh, terrific.
it's an entertaining job, and
That's
I will tell you that there's a lot of for the younger guys that are in the RC, there's a lot of opportunities in the UAV field for guys with RC talent, and even guys that don't necessarily have RC talent but may have computer talent, coding experience. There's so many jobs out there for UAV guys that are looking for, RC guys to fulfill those positions.
hmm Yeah, I've flown a good bit with Rhett Lambert, and when he got out of high school, I know he went into a drone position, and man, he
Mhm.
seems to be as busy as he wants to be. I tell you,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely a busy
no doubt.
industry, especially right now.
hmm I know I've seen a few of your videos on the internet showing people stuff about Futaba and different things, and some stuff going on with Andrew. What do you and Andrew got going on the business side?
So for the past few years, Andrew and I have always kind of worked on other people's stuff, specifically Andrew and specifically me, just kind of helping him out. Um, and it kind of got to a point where we can probably make some money off of this if we just put our minds together and come up with the stuff that we want to do. So we decided to open our company, and it's not to compete with anybody or try to mm, take away market space, but more we're only going to sell the stuff that we use. There's going to be nothing that you're going to see on our website that both of us don't personally use in our pattern planes. Um, and I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is because we're going to be able to be the experts on a specific amount of products, because those are the same ones that we would use if we were building an airplane or putting an airplane together. And we just kind of right now we just kind of looked into a little bit of opportunity because the Plettenberg motors are becoming readily unobtainable. And we have a motor
hmm
to replace it in that space. So we have been staying pretty busy with that. And then I think a little bit of it too is Andrew and I have both been big proponents of 12S and making that shift to 12S. And so we have 12S motors, all the stuff to be able to help guys get on that 12S route. And then we have the knowledge to be able to give them the answers they may need when they're looking for it as well.
Hmm. I see that you, even out in the field, but your videos and such, you tend to share your knowledge and help people. Do you get a satisfaction out of that side of the hobby as well?
Yeah, because I look at it as if it wasn't for people doing that for me, then I wouldn't be here. And so therefore it's just kind of passing the baton in a way, there's no way that I would be where I am if it wasn't for certain people who took the time out of their day to share their knowledge and help me and put me on the right path for pattern or indoor or whatever. And so I think it's just best to share that knowledge. And I do get satisfaction out of that. It's great being able to help guys and see guys, progress and do better and better. So I do enjoy that part quite a bit.
Hmm. Well, good deal. I know those guys on the receiving end of that help really appreciate it for sure. Um, Let me ask about your sponsorships and who all your teams you're flying on, and you can mention them as well.
Okay. Yeah, so the main one is always going to be, or at least for right now, is going to be Futaba. They have taken care of me for the
Hmm.
last few years and continue to up their support as each year goes on, and I can't thank them enough for their help. AJ Aircraft, Tim and Linda. I mean, it's and Andrew have obviously been family for a long time for me, and so I'm always gonna promote them and help them in any way that I can. Brian Abear with CK Aero. We have an airplane coming out. Hopefully this year you guys will see it. I've seen some pictures here lately of it. Brian's always been around. I mean, as far back as I can remember, my first pattern plane I won the Nats with was my dad crashed it before giving it to me, and Brian and Harold Collins fixed it and repainted it and put a Patriot nose on it. And I mean, it was an awesome flying airplane. But Brian's always taking care of me whatever I needed. So Thunder Power, Kim and I have been friends for many moons. Even when I lived in Vegas, we were pretty close friends together because they're out of Vegas. Of course, our company, A2, and Jim Fan with our new motors. And that's really, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody and I'm going to feel terrible for it. That's really it. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, if you think of somebody, just shoot me a message and I'll add it in the show notes. No doubt.
Yeah. Well,
Don't want you to
obviously, too.
miss anybody.
And there's been other people that have helped along the way, BJ with BJ Craft for my elements when I
Mhm.
flew those, my Encourage when I flew it. Marcelo has at CA Models has helped with my current airplanes with the Proteus Bipe. So yeah, that's probably the end of it there.
Mm. Well, terrific. What just two final questions for you. The first one being, what big contests or events are you planning on going? I mean, obviously Nats, but are there any other big contests or things that we would expect to see you at this year?
You'll probably see me at some local contest. It's probably going to be the main stuff that you'll see me at. Obviously, the Cajun Nats at the end of the year, um, the shootout. So I'll be at the Tucson shootout, but I won't be there flying. I'll be there as Andrew's caller, um, and helper there.
Hmm.
Uh, I've been toying around with the idea of trying to go to the European Championship, but we'll have to see how that works because it's a couple weeks after our Nats, and by that time, I'm probably going to be a little burned out on pattern. I don't know that I'm going to want to travel to Spain, but it's something I've been toying with the idea of going to that. But yeah, that's probably going to be it.
Okay, terrific, terrific. And then the last question is an easy one. If somebody wants to find you on social media or the website of your new company or get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Best way is Facebook. if you reach out to me on Facebook, my phone is literally always next to me, so I'll be able to get back in touch with you pretty quickly. And even the Facebook is linked on just about, or the website for our stuff is linked on about every post that I've posted here lately. But it's a2f3aproducts.com. You can reach me through there. But like I said, Facebook's probably the easiest. If you can hit me up on Messenger, I'll definitely be able to help with whatever you may need.
Well, terrific. Well, man, I really appreciate the time. I know it was a busy day, and just thanks for giving us a little time, giving us a little insight on what what you're all about, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Sounds good, Rich. I appreciate you having me. Look forward to seeing you here and hopefully at a contest here soon.
That sounds great. Take care.
All right, you too.
Thanks for listening to the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. A very special thanks to my good friend John Gros, who wrote the song Deep in the Mud that is used as the show bumper music. Check him out on his website, www.johnpapagros.com. A link is in the show notes. See you at the next episode.